What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's another day. It is Friday. It's a good day. Like always, boys, thank you for watching. Appreciate you guys being here. Today's video, when we arrived to Iraq, the unit that we were relieving, I'm going to tell you about some of the guys I met and some of the things that I was introduced to very early on in my time in Iraq. Let's get right into it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment. So, upon arriving to Iraq for our first deployment, we met the guys we were relieving. Okay, like I said, for my first deployment, we were doing counter mortar fire. So we set up our mortar tracks all around the base of the exterior of where we were staying. It's called a fob, and we lived here. We had a metal connex. It's like a shipping container. I've talked about this before. We had bunk beds in there, we had a PlayStation, we had all kinds of stuff in there that made it easier for us to live there. But there was also like a small structure built around, like where we had a weight bench, we had our microwave, we had a bunch of stuff that we had, all kinds of stuff to accommodate our living, even though you were living out there kind of not great, but whatever, it wasn't terrible. We had a bunch of things in here that made life easier. Board games, stuff. So we meet the guys that we are relieving. Now these guys, really cool at first. These guys were like from like a Washington National Guard or something. Like these guys had been out there, living out there for 12 months. Their deployment was getting ready to be over. Ours was just starting. So we met all these guys. And a lot of these were good guys. They kind of, when we first met them, they're like, yeah, man, we've been living out here. Like, straight up living out here for the past year. Every now and then we go into the main area and we go to the dining, the chow hall or the dining facility. But these guys have pretty much lived off of MREs. I'll put a picture up of that. These packaged meals that some are horrible. Most of them are pretty bad. But they were living off this. These guys were not living in any kind of good way like we were about to live, where we would live 2 days out in the Connex doing our fire and mortar missions, living out there, then 2 days back in like kind of like the barracks or like our little chews, like our little houses where we would stay. These guys were pretty much indefinitely out there, and they gave me some really, really good advice on kind of how to survive out there. Not like survive like you're in combat or anything, but like how to make it with like living in a crate and dealing with other guys and how to pass your time, and gave me a bunch of intel, if you will. So these guys kind of showed us the rope. They hung around for a week while we got settled in and everything, and we got to meet these guys, got to talk to these guys, got to know these guys. These guys played spades. They constantly played spades. If you're an 11 Charlie in the military, you better learn how to play spades or hearts, or you're going to be playing a lot of cards. It's what you're going to do. And these guys played a ton of spades. These guys were cool guys. There was only 3 of them to this area that we were about to occupy. They lived in this connex together. Around the area, they had their ammo bunker where we would keep our rounds for mortar rounds. They were in little concrete buildings, little concrete like shacks almost. And they had a pit that was dug around the entire mortar pit, and that was the burn pit. You are going to burn all of your trash in Iraq. There is not a trash service. You are going to dump diesel fuel on it, and you are going to light it up. That is how you get rid of your trash, or that's how we got rid of our trash. You're going to dump a bunch of fuel on it, and you're going to set it on fire. So there was a trench that went all around our mortar pit that we would burn stuff. We'll get to that moving into the video. So these guys give us some really good advice. Okay, Iraq does not operate on regular electricity like we do here. All right, so they operate on 220 voltage over there. And that will fry an Xbox. Okay, like if you plug the regular Xbox into that, that's just gonna turn on and it's gonna zip out. Like, so you have to get inverters for these things. You have to get little power plugs that you plug in, and it will translate the regular 220 to 110 or whatever it was, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. However, they were giving us all this advice. They're like, look, do this. This is what you got to do. This is how you're going to make it out here. Hit that gym up, hit the weight bench up as much as you can. You know, we're not taking this stuff with us. It's all yours. So we're like, okay, this is cool. A lot of these guys are like, you're going to be sitting around a lot. Okay, these fire missions are not happening every 5 minutes. You might get one a day. You might not get one for a week. Like, you're going to have a lot of time out here, but you are out here to do this job. So you're out here, okay? These guys did not look great. Like, these guys, we had like a main laundry building. These guys hadn't done laundry in a while. It just looked like they looked like some dirt balls that had been living in a pretty much a shipping container for the past like year. So I get to talking to these guys, shooting the shit. They have a sergeant. He is an E5. He's a National Guard E5. Real cool dude. Kick back. I don't remember his name. But I remember we were out there smoking a cigarette. Me and him were on night guard that night. He's like, look, he's like, do you like to stay up late? I was like, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I've always been kind of a late guy. He's like, yeah, you're going to want night guard. I said, really? He's like, man, it's real chill. Stay up all night. Just listen to the radio. Like the actual headset where they would call fire missions in. We got on a little speaker. He's like, you're going to like this. He's like, you want this. And I said, all right, I'm not volunteering for this shit, but like, maybe we'll rotate that in shifts or something. He's like, trust me, the night, and then you can sleep in the day, and it's always somebody listening to the radio. So the guy asked me, he's like, and it's just me and him, okay? And he's like, you're cool, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, you're cool, right? Like, I mean, it's cool to talk to you. I was like, yeah. By the way, if anybody ever asks you if you're cool, you're probably getting ready to do something illegal, or you're about to do something you shouldn't be doing. You're not going to say, hey, man, are you cool? And then go to church after that. Like, that's not going to happen. All right? So he says, like, are you cool? I was like, yeah, what's up, man? He's like, I'm going to show you how I pass my time. Okay, I'm going to show you how I pass my time out here. I was like, okay, do tell. So he asked me. He's like, you ever Robotrip? I said, Robotrip? What is Robotrippin? What is Robotripping? You mean to tell me you never Robotripped? The fuck is Robotripping? I don't know what Robotripping is. I've tripped. I've eaten acid and mushrooms and shit. But he's like, nah, man. You want to pass the time out here? I'll show you. Okay. Show me. He's like, and he reaches in his pocket, and he kind of pulls his hand out real quick, and he's like Robitussin. I said, Robitussin? Like, the cough syrup shit? Yeah, man, Robitussin. The fuck do you do with that? What do you do with Robitussin? It's what you do. Crack that thing, and you just down it. So what the hell am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with Robitussin? What does that do to you? Are you supposed to like take like a little spoonful of that shit when you got a cough or some shit? Like, what? Nah, man. You drink that whole bottle. That's like an out-of-body experience. What? You're joking. You're joking. There's no way this is real. There's no way this is real. This can't be real. Yeah, it's a real thing. I said, wait a second. So you just drink a whole thing of Robitussin? He's like, it's some chemicals in there or something, man. It's like you trip, but you're like, you're there, but you're not there. Like the way you walk and shit. I'm like, and I'm supposed to do counter mortar fire while being all fucked up on Robitussin? Nah, man, I'm good with that. No, I'm okay. And he was like, okay, go ahead and stay out here for a couple months, and then let me know if you do this or not. I was like, wait a sec, how long have you been getting down on Robitussin? He's like, sometimes I do Dimetap. I was like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's cough syrup. You're drinking cough syrup. Like, what does this really do to you? He's like, it'll pass your time. It'll pass your time on them nights when ain't nothing going on and you're out here. I was like, you are fucking crazy. I'm not drinking Robitussin. I'm not doing that. He's like, why don't you just try it? So he reaches in his pocket and he gets this bottle of Robitussin. It's a brand new box of Robitussin. I'm like, Yeah, I'm good, dude. He's like, I got another one if you want it. I was like, no, I'm fine, man. You can have at that shit. I'm not drinking any Robitussin to get high. Like, I'm not doing that. I just got to Iraq. I've been here for like a week. No, I'm good. So this guy cracks it, and down the hatch he goes. About 20 minutes later, he's chilling in the chair and shit and smoking a cigarette, and this guy looks faded. I was like, what the fuck, man? Is this guy really... What? This shit has changed the man out here. Like, you're fucking drinking cough syrup. Like, I'm thinking, like, what in the world is this shit? Eventually, he passes out, and, like, he wakes up, and... Like, throughout this whole thing, I'm, like, watching this guy. Like, I'm watching the radio and watching the garden, kind of, like, watching a shitty DVD. I'm like... What in the world is going on with this guy? He would like wake up and like come out of like a trance and like act like he was gonna get up and then sit back in his chair. And I was like, what is this shit? Like what this? You are getting high on Robitussin and you're trying to preach this to me like I should be doing this shit? Look at you right now. No, I'm good. The night goes on. I think I watched a full season of Smallville or some shit. By the way, you will do that in Iraq a lot. You will watch a bunch of DVDs. Smallville, the show Lost that was on. Like, we watch full seasons of this shit. It's what you do. I see this guy in the morning. He's like, oh, groggy and shit. I was like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. Yeah, I'm good. He's like, oh, you will. You will. Nah, I'm good. So like I say, after watching this guy down this, and the morning is up, I don't tell anybody about this shit. Like, I got my sergeants and stuff. I don't tell anybody about this shit. I'm like, I don't even want to know what this guy does. Just watching him go through that, I was like, I'm good. I'm just going to pretend I never saw that shit and just keep it moving. Like, that's all I got. So... A couple days later, these guys leave. They are happier than shit. The end of their deployment is here. They are leaving. They are exiting Iraq. They're going back to Washington State or wherever they're from or some National Guard unit out there or whatever. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Lindsay, he had visited us multiple times out there. He comes out and he's like, yeah, y'all can't live like this. Like, we're not gonna operate how those guys did. He's like, because like they pretty much dropped their Joes off and they just left those guys here. Like, that's not how we're gonna roll. Like, these guys were living off of MREs. Like, these guys weren't really eating too much real food and you have a dining facility. You have multiple dining facilities all around the FOB. They had one Humvee. They shared between like three mortar pits. So I was like, yeah, it's not going to work. So he's like, look, this is what we're going to do. First off, we're going to clean this area, okay? We need to clean this shit up. These guys were living like, they were living pretty bad. Nah, we're gonna make this better. We're going to make this more accommodating for you guys. I don't think you guys should be out here indefinitely. I think you should be out here, and we'll do 48-hour rotations. One crew will stay out here for 2 days. The other crew will stay back at the Chews or back at kind of like the housing area in Iraq, and you'll switch, okay? But on our days off, you should get hot meals every day. They're like, so on our days off when we were back in the Chews, we would bring out hot chow from the dining facility to the guys in the mortar pits. It's only fair. You don't want to live off MREs. That shit sucks. Like, you don't want to do that. So as we're walking around and we're kind of doing an analysis of how these guys lived and where they lived and things like that, man, I start finding Dimetapp, Robitussin bottles everywhere. I mean everywhere. There had to be at least 50 of these bitches stashed in ammo bunkers, stashed under sandbags. Like, I'm like, this guy fucking got down on this shit. This guy was an addict, man. Like, this guy got down on this. Didn't matter if it was Dimetapp, Robitussin. This guy was getting down. I was like, fuck that shit. That's crazy. So they had a concrete bunker that they kept all their MREs in. Cases and cases and cases. I cannot tell you how many cases of MREs. Realistically, probably about 150 MREs. And there's like, I don't know, 20 to a case. MREs everywhere. We crack open one of these MREs. MREs can last a long, long time. A whole long time. But not these things. These things had been there probably since Iraq became a country. These things were old as shit. And like, we open up some of this stuff, they have a cheese spread in it. We were squeezing this cheese spread out of the packet. That shit looked like peanut butter. That shit was disgusting. Like, all this stuff was either expired or bad. Or my platoon sergeant, he was like, yeah, y'all ain't eating this stuff. Nah, y'all, I ain't gonna let you guys live like this. So we're gonna get rid of these things. Okay, well, what do we do with them? What do you do with your trash? You burn it. So this is what we did, getting into the great MRE fire of 2006. So I'm really trying to explain how many MREs there really was in this, okay? There is a stretcher, or it's a litter carrier, or whatever it is. It is pretty much a stretcher that you will carry a wounded soldier on. We had one of these at the mortar pit. We were stacked. We had so many MRE boxes that we were stacking them and carrying them over on this thing and dumping them into this big ass trench. There was a ton of MREs. I cannot explain how many there really were. So what do we start doing? Once we had done probably 20 trips over carrying this stuff, it's the trench is only about 100 feet away from where we're living. So we dump all these in. And then what do? Go to a Humvee, take off the fuel, start dousing that shit. Just dousing it. All kinds of diesel fuel on there. And you are getting ready to light this fire. All right? It's in the daytime. We weren't going to do it at nighttime, but we were doing it in the daytime. We have tower guards that are not that far away from our position. These guys in these big ass towers, they're watching outside the sector to see if anything is kicking off, because like I said, we were right on the wire. The wire was probably only 500 feet away from our position. You have guards there that are watching that constantly, make sure nobody gets in. It's what it is. So we light this bitch up. This thing is a fiery inferno. This whole trench line is a curtain of flames. It is smoking. It is burning. The tower guard is calling out to us, raising his hands and shit. Like, what is happening? Like, it's like, do we need to call some kind of a fire squad or something? Like, no, it's cool. Like, we're good. Like, don't worry about it. Like, this fire was roaring. And this fire lasted. I'm not even joking. This bitch burned for 2 days. For 2 days, it was smoke. It was moldering. I walked over one time, and there was like half of a pork rib still sizzling, and like, we burned all this stuff. It's what you did with your trash. We watched it. We actually passed that night just watching this blaze. Like, it just burned. It just burned constantly for like 2 days. That was the great MRE fire of 2006. I will not forget that stuff. It is in my brain forever. So some time has passed. The fire has been extinguished. Well, it's out. It's not burning anymore. We go on with our deployment. Okay? We are going through this normal cycle of 2 days on, 2 days kind of off, 2 days there, 2 days in the rear. Like, we're doing this. The mortar pit is boring as shit. This guy was not joking. When this guy told me about it's boring out here and a lot of times you're not going to get fire missions, it could take a really long time. All right, so I got used to living out there and being out there, and it was boring, and I kind of took on that night guard responsibility. I just did, okay? Eventually. I never thought I would do it. Never, ever, ever, ever. I'm like, man, what was this guy talking about, this Robotrippin and shit? And I remember this guy said to me, he was like, yeah, wait a couple months. Go ahead and be out here a couple months. See what happens. About 3 months in, I was at the PX. I bought some Robotrippin. This was me back then, okay? I'm like, man, I mean, he looked faded, but like, the speaker for this was really loud, so you would wake up if like a fire mission was called or something. I'm thinking, maybe I'm gonna try this shit. Maybe I'm gonna try what this guy was doing. Okay, maybe I'll try it. Alright, we'll see what happens, but whatever. I pick up this bottle of Robitussin. That night, everyone has bed down. By the way, a lot of guys, like I had guys that lived with me that were really light sleepers. If the radio would go off, they would instantly kind of, because that's what you would yell. As soon as the radio would go off, they would call a fire mission. You would say stand to, which means everybody get your boots on and shit and run out to that mortar track. It's kicking off, or we're going to lay some rounds down range or whatever we got to do. So I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Everyone's asleep. I think I'm watching a DVD or something. Like, you know what? I'm going to try this shit. Just to see what it's all about. I crack this bottle of Robitussin. It doesn't taste good. I pound this bitch back. I start feeling weird. What this guy was going through, I don't know if I'm on that same level, but I was just drowsy. I was drowsy and kind of like in a trance. I don't know why they say it's tripping, like you're not hallucinating, but you kind of are a little bit because like you're out of it. You're out of it, but you're in it. But like I don't know. I remember like rocking like a lot, like kind of like swaying and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And as soon as I did it and I started to feel the effects of it, I'm like, I don't like this. Nope, I don't like this. I went through the night and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. I don't like this shit. So I decided real quick, damn, that guy wasn't kidding. I actually tried this shit. I shouldn't have. Nothing happened that night, by the way. No fire missions, nothing happened. All was smooth. But like, I was like, man, this is not good. I'm not living my best life with this. But that guy was serious, and he was like, you'll wait it out a couple months. Anyways, yeah, never again. And to this day, I won't even taste cough syrup. Like, no, it's bad. I'm like, however, guys, this was the story for today. I want to thank you guys for watching. I see a lot of people view. Please subscribe. It helps. It makes me feel even better about doing this, because the goal of this is literally just to get the story out. I don't know why I'm making these videos, but I'm making them because I feel like this stuff needs to be told. So I'm going to keep doing it. But like always, guys, I love you. You guys take care of yourself. Be cool.